energy conservation, and the draft Intergovernmental Framework Agreement for Energy Cooperation should be finalized at the earliest. The adoption of the Regional Energy Trade Study by the Energy Ministers in September in Dhaka this year is a welcome development, and Member States should consider implementing the recommendations for the study. Mr. Chairman, environmental degradation, climate change, and the increasing frequency and intensity of natural disasters make South Asia one of the most ecologically vulnerable regions of the world. The imperative to arrest decline in the health of our fragile ecosystems by making intelligent choices regarding the use of our natural resources cannot be overstated. In this regard, the entry into force of the SAARC Convention on Cooperation on Environment and timely implementation of the Thimphu Statement on Climate Change are vital. South Asia is highly prone to natural disasters. The tsunami in 2004 and the recent floods and earthquakes in the neighborhood are grim reminders of the imperative to have a regional response mechanism to prepare for such eventualities. In this regard, the signing of the SAARC Agreement on Rapid Response to Natural Disasters tomorrow is also a welcome development. Mr. Chairman, terrorism continues to threaten peace, security, and stability in our region, and successive summits have emphasized on the need to strengthen regional cooperation in this area. The inclusion of maritime security and piracy in our ambit of cooperation is timely, as piracy is a growing menace in the region. We must ensure the effective implementation of the Convention on Terrorism and its additional protocol and the Convention on Narcotics, Drugs, and Psychotropic Substances. The high-level group of eminent experts to strengthen the SAARC anti-terrorism mechanism should also be convened soon. At the same time, I urge Member States to expedite the ratification of the Convention on Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters. Mr. Chairman, our efforts to focus on project-based collaboration is making progress. The SAARC Development Fund is actively engaged in the implementation of a number of projects under the social window. I am pleased to note that work on activating the remaining windows, the economic window and the infrastructure window, are underway. Since the admission of observers to SAARC, our engagement with them is increasing steadily. There is a growing interest among countries and organizations, both in terms of seeking new engagement and in terms of deepening existing mechanisms, existing interactions. We must welcome this as a reflection of the importance attached to our region and our association. We must explore ways to strengthen our partnership with observers, including the question of dialogue partnership. This is required to make our collaboration with external partners more substantive and meaningful. Mr. Chairman, over the past 26 years, the SAARC process has witnessed considerable expansion in the areas of cooperation and an exponential increase in the number of activities as well as the mechanisms necessary to deal with those activities. This has led to an inevitable strain on our resources, as evidenced by the number of missed targets, deadlines, and the number of postponed meetings. We therefore have a compelling need to bring about greater focus in our engagement so that our limited resources are put to the best possible use. We have to rationalize and consolidate the areas of cooperation. We must also empower and strengthen our institutions, including the SAARC Secretariat. I note that there are many studies and many recommendations on this subject. I have myself examined many of them. While they are useful, it is my view that they are not comprehensive enough, and many of them have not come through a consultative process. They also do not provide the specifics, and most important, they do not provide the alternatives. For this reason, I have asked for a mandate to undertake a comprehensive and an objective, and I underscore the word objective, review of SARC. I am satisfied, Mr. Chairman, that at the Secretariat we have left no stone unturned to bring this issue to the sharpest possible focus. The decision now lies with the leaders. Mr. Chairman, the South Asia Forum instituted by the 16th Summit facilitated the discussion, debate, and exchange of ideas on SARC and its future trajectories among stakeholders from within and outside of government. The deliberations at the forum were most enriching and insightful and generated a number of useful recommendations. And I might also add that the voices at the forum were united in their call for implementation. I cannot myself emphasize enough the need to act and act on the recommendations. Mr. Chairman, the SARC Charter excludes or prohibits the discussion of bilateral and contentious issues. It has, however, been noted that those very issues impact on the SARC agenda of cooperation. On my part, I must say that I have often been amazed by the grace, generosity, and the spirit of cooperation among member states engaged in disputes, both large and small. Yet, at the same time, I cannot also ignore the glaring reality that these issues do hinder progress in key areas. While on this subject, Mr. Chairman, permit me also to observe that while the Charter does exclude the discussion of bilateral and contentious issues, insofar as those issues affect our collective agenda of cooperation, the identification of those as issues that affect our common agenda is not prohibited. I remain steadfast in my faith in the goodness of our people and the wisdom as well as the continuous efforts of our leaders to converge the divergences. Mr. Chairman and Excellencies, this is my first summit since assuming office in March this year. I would like to thank member states for the trust and confidence reposed in me. And I would also like to thank the leaders for the wise counsel and guidance they have imparted to me during my introductory calls on their excellencies. In particular, I would like to thank President Nasheed for nominating a woman to this position for the first time in SARC's 25-year history. I also thank His Excellency for the faith he has placed in me and also for the guidance and support he has consistently given me. I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to the outgoing chair, His Excellency Leonchen Jigme Waithinle, the Honorable Prime Minister of Bhutan. I have always been inspired and encouraged by His Excellency's progressive ideas and optimistic outlook. That outlook and optimism have been a source of strength and has guided me in my work. I thank him for steering the work of our association since the 16th summit. We also greatly appreciate the excellent arrangements made for the summit and the warm reception and gracious hospitality extended to us by the people in the government of Maldives. In conclusion, I would like to note that this convention center hosting this mega event, the most important event in South Asia, has been built on what was an isolated stretch of marshy land a year ago. And today it stands as a testimony to the power of one man's dream and what can be achieved when faith and dedication is placed behind a dream. Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, my fellow South Asians, let us join hands together anew and give to one another